What's going on YouTube? TeamSC back online here with another 3v3 gamecast for you today. Now since patch 3.8 I've been having a blast playing a bunch of fun games and I thought you might enjoy this one today. So let's go ahead and introduce our players. We do have the Dream Team, yours truly, TeamSC, spawning as the Red Terran, with my allies none other than 2 base Ultralisk aka Brain Crusher, spawning here as the Red Zerg today, and our other ally is Spec, the random player, spawning as Terran, going to be opening up with the gas first already. Today we're up against none other than the Blue Protoss, Lemon Essence, with his ally, another Blue Protoss, HXMX, and their third, which is a third Protoss, Pounder. Sounds a little bit painful. But anyways, we do have triple Protoss against double Terran and 1 Zerg on this map known as the Bat Country. Now this map's a little interesting. You do have all 3 allies spawning at the same large main platform base. There is a large ramp that goes up to your main base, but then off to the side there's a smaller ramp that connects you to 3 relatively easy to obtain expansions. There is a small little walkway here, but these destructible rocks can be destroyed to block the land path, and then further off you do have access to 2 more additional bases, which are pretty easy to secure. And already from the start we do have HXMX with a little cheese going to be throwing down a proxy pylon where we least expect, way here over in the back of our rocks. So we don't have any vision of this right now, obviously, because it's a bit early in the game, but we'll see what this guy is planning to do. But anyways, more about the map. There is more destructible rocks here that open up the attack path to these last bases, but also open up another walkway into these other bases here in the middle of the map, which are kind of strange, a little bit harder to defend. Some high yield gold bases if you manage to protect it, but these are dead center on the attack path up to the enemy base. But anyways, let's go ahead and start things off. Does look like Lemon Essence is going for double gateway cybercore on the way. Does look like he's going to be opening up for a little bit of harass, and we do have his other ally going to be teching up to cybercore. No doubt probably trying to work his way up to DTs or something cheesy like that, since he does have the proxy pylon in position already. And then Powder looks like playing a little bit standard, is going to be going for an expansion himself and macroing up. So we got to be worried. We do have 2 Terrans versus and a Zerg versus triple Protoss, but we got to be really worried about Skytoss in this situation, because this is an easy map to kind of macro up and take a bunch of bases on, and if they can get up to that critical mass of carriers, it's real hard to deal with. You definitely need to get really lucky with some Ravens, Widow Mines, or maybe some good battle cruiser micro to be able to deal with that. But as a Zerg player, Zerg doesn't really have too much. I mean, he can help kind of support us in the fights, but it's really hard as a Zerg to dismantle a Skytoss ball. You have to like micro using Festers, Fungal, get the Ravagers, Corrosive Biles, and just a whole mix of stuff, parasitic bombs, and sometimes even all that's not enough, whereas the carriers can simply just A-move and pretty much wreck everything. So ideally we would like it to not get to that point, so we do need to be proactive and make sure we're scouting on the map. But there are 2 adepts going to be moving in. We do have vision of this from the Overlord hidden position here at the middle of the map. Good spot to keep your Overlord if you do play Zerg. Does monitor the main attack path to the base, but these adepts going to be pushing up, going to be dropping a shade, trying to go in and warp, but there is a wall with a hole here. A little bit of a blunder on Spec's part, leaving a hole right between the barracks and factory. No units coming out yet, and these adepts are going straight for the mineral lines. Spec, quick with the response time, going to be getting his workers out of there and running away. But these adepts are going to be killing a couple of these ICVs. Lings are going to be coming in to deal with these adepts, but these adepts are going to be shading away. Lings trying to do as much damage as they can. Going to be catching this adept, maybe get it before it actually teleports away, but this adept, I believe that adept actually survives. No, that adept does go down. The last adept does come over here, going to be doing a little bit more harass, but does get picked off by the Zerglings. Going to be putting these SCVs back to work, but we do have an Oracle. It was a proxy Stargate. It was a proxy Stargate, guys, not DT. So Oracle going to be coming in, going to be sniping the SCV building, my command center. A little bit annoying. Going to be coming to this base, but there's actually nothing here. He's going to be going straight for the Spore Claw. Needs to be bypassing that and going straight for these workers, but I think he's maybe on A-move or just not paying attention. But anyways, HXMX, a little bit of a blunder here, does lose all of his energy on this Oracle and does actually no damage at all, but at the very least this Oracle is going to be able to get a little bit of scout for them. A couple Zerglings here for Brain Crusher. Scouting for the proxy pylon, actually not seeing it. We're actually just out of vision and don't see the Stargate there. Zerglings did have the right idea going to scout, but actually did not find it. Second Oracle going to be coming in, going to be using his ability, going to be destroying a couple more probes just as the probes are transferring. Oracle going to be getting 3 kills, 4 kills. Spore Caller does finish just in time to prevent any more drones from going down, but this Oracle has got a couple picks. Zerglings do finally find the proxy Stargate, going to be bringing it down and stopping the shenanigans, but we do have more adepts here in the front, still going through that hole that hasn't been sealed off yet. Tank going to be sieging up there, but wasn't there in time, still causing a little bit of harass to Spec. Meanwhile, more adepts coming here, going to be seeing my main base, going to be very annoying. Don't have any units here to actually deal with this. Do have a couple of Cyclones, but they're a bit out of position. Going to be bringing them back to deal with this adept, but this adept is getting a couple of free worker kills that should not happen. Does take a couple workers out before he goes down. and kind of just keeping us on our feet. Oracles from the right, Adepts coming in through the center, and just really kind of trying to prevent us from macroing up. Meanwhile, they are taking their own expansions as well. And going to be teching up. Does look Colon Powder going to be staying on some gateway play. Does have charge on the research along with the Dark Shrine. So we're going to see some DTs and charge lots here for this player. Maybe transition to Charge Lot Archon. HMX also staying with gateway tech. And then Lemon Essence also coming for gateway tech. So this is a weird situation when no Protoss is going for Sky Toss, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to have 3 dedicated ground toss armies going to be coming in and just doing whatever damage they can. We do have double Oracle here coming in, attacking Spec once again. Missile turret not yet finished, getting a bunch of free kills, 7 on this Oracle and then 8 on this other one. Going to be coming in. There are a couple Marines here, but these Oracles should be able to actually finish off those Marines with relative ease if they actually wanted to attack them. But it does look like they're low on energy. Going to be backing out and going to be hiding and waiting for another time to come in. So good job on this player. Definitely doing some good micro, doing a good job keeping those Oracles alive, keeping the harass on, and keeping us stuck at our base instead of moving out on the map, which is ideally what we would like to do. Spec going to be covering out a couple tanks. Does look like he's going for a little bit of mech play himself, but kind of a little bit of a biomech. He does have 2 barracks and does have 2 factories, so going to be maybe tank marine. We'll have to see. Meanwhile, myself going for a bunch of Cyclones to start things off. Do have a few Marines, have a starport on the way, but going to be teching up and going into mech play. But we do have an Archon drop coming here. Going to be completely destroying these Zerglings. Zergling's a horrible choice to deal with this Archon. As you can see, that Archon 9 kills, this other one 8 kills. Completely just obliterate all the Zerglings. I'm going to be trying to get my expansion up. And this is really annoying because I haven't actually got a second base up and mining yet because of all the harass. These Archons going to be coming in. Going to be bringing back the Cyclones. Going to be sniping out that Warp Prism first to prevent the Archons from getting out of there. And they're going to be bringing down this Archon with the Cyclones. Cyclones do amazing damage per second and eat up that Archon with relative ease, but not after he's done the damage. Really hurting right now, really trying to get this base up and mining. I have my 3rd command center, but I haven't actually been able to mine from 2 bases that efficiently just yet. So really trying to get these bases up. Do have a 3rd base coming down for Brain Crusher and Spec. 2nd base has finally finished, does have a missile turret up, but we've kind of been on our toes this whole game because the little harass has come in. It hasn't done a lot of damage, but it's really kept us kind of up against the fence. Meanwhile, they're just teching up, getting more and more gateways, more and more units, and more bases. It does look like in a matter of time this Protoss army is going to be ridiculously strong because they are actually beating us in the base races. Oracle even coming in to get a couple more kills, but not being microed properly. Does get picked off by the turret, but does take a few SCVs down before he goes out. And it's just kind of annoying, kind of be having to juggle these Cyclones back and forth between the bases. Do have Spec taking up, getting down more barracks, and we do have more factories coming down for myself, along with an armory. So all in all, in the dark, but the one thing we do know is we haven't seen any air units. So if we click on our vision, we're actually playing relatively in the dark, which is like what we like to do because we don't scout because we're noobs. Just kidding. Anyways, it does look like both sides will be macroing up. Overlord's still here in the middle of the map to watch the main ground package. Just a bunch of upgrades, everybody taking up, getting Psionic Storm for Lemon Essence as well. Does have a good amount of Stalkers here for HX, MX, and even more gateways. And this, like, they are going to be dedicated to ground Protoss force, ladies and gentlemen. Colon Pounder with the Charge Lot Archon getting a couple Immortals in the mix and just macroing up. Kind of a little pause in the action. Harass has stopped, but these Stalkers are going to be moving out of the map to see if they can get a little bit of damage done. Going to be pushing forward. Looks like they're going for the back rocks, but this Overlord did get vision of it. As you see, we did ping. But these Stalkers actually... Okay, maybe it was the enemy team that pinged. Going to be finding that Overlord, but now we do have vision of it, so we do know Stalkers are going to be mad on the map. Going to have to move our army and get them into position. Going to be moving a couple things here to the backups to try to defend. Overlord here to spot. Make sure nothing comes to the backups, but it does look like he's going to back off temporarily. Meanwhile, we are getting our additional bases up, finally getting up to 3rd base myself. Going to be throwing down a command center to try and secure 4th base with the Planetary Fortress. And just teching up both sides. Does look like Spec has decided to actually stick with bio play. Does look like he was trying to go for mech, but then changed his mind and decided to go for bio instead. So he's going to be mixing it up with a couple of tanks, a couple of Widow Mines, and a bunch of Marines. So it is going to be a Marine tank-based army. Does have 1-1 upgrades on the way. Meanwhile, Brain Crusher back home. Going to be taking up, does have his 1-1 coming up for his Roaches, along with the Roach Horn on the way. Actually is going to be going for, excuse me, not Roach. It's going to be going for Melee 2-2. Going to be getting Adrenal Glands and Ultralisk. So very fast Ultralisks for Richard here, aka Brain Crusher. That's his real name, guys. Don't mean to confuse. But we do have the Protoss going to be pushing out, but he's a little bit hesitant. He goes forward and then he decides to come back. Doesn't want to overcommit. Maybe he just saw this sensor tower go up and decides to go ahead and back off. Observer here going to be getting a little bit of a glimpse in the army composition. Cyclone's going to be coming in, trying to lock on that, but they actually don't pick off the Observer. It survives with 1 HP, guys. That really is annoying. As you know, the Cyclone anti-air damage is really not that good. If you have a bunch of Cyclones, you can finally kill stuff, but it's pretty much negligible. We do have this big ball force. Does have a bunch of charge lots here. A lot of Archons, a couple Charge-Outs here. Going to be coming in, going to be lifting off these command centers. Going to have to run these SCVs away. The army is out of position, but we do have the Cyclones coming in. We do have a decent amount of Ultralisks here and a couple of Zerglings, but Ultralisks do get countered by the Archons here, but we do have the Cyclones firing from the back, and it is going to force them to morph out of the way. But meanwhile, the other half of the army going to be coming in, and a bunch of charge loss for Lemon Essence. These weren't here at the start. In fact, he just warped them in. They're out of position, not with the army on the initial engagement when they needed to be. Going to be bringing in a couple of Templars, so you're going to be dropping off some Storms. The Storms are not the most effective against the Ultras, but they are eating up a lot of the Cyclones. All of the Cyclones badly injured, going to be in the red zone here, but not enough here to clean up the Cyclones. Going to be trying to morph in some Archons, but they do go down. Meanwhile, the last thing here alive is this Mothership Core. Do need to lock these Cyclones on it, not actually paying attention to the fight. I knew that we won, but then I was like, what is this thing? And then going to be locking it down right now. Going to be moving these Widow Mines up as well. Going to be transitioning out of Cyclones and getting a little bit of a more stable mech. Going to be transitioning into some Siege Tanks, Thors, and actually, ideally, I do want to go for Banshees, because I found against Protoss, when they do go for ground Protoss, a good composition is Thor, Hellbat, and Banshee. You want to drop a scan before you engage the enemy, and then the Thor, since they automatically prioritize air units first, will usually eat up all of the observers, and then the Banshees are pretty much free to just cloak and destroy the rest of the Protoss ground army. But those like Stalkers going to be pushing in, taking a couple of nasty blows here from the Widow Mines. Meanwhile, Cyclones going to be moving in well, trying to get a little bit of a pick as well. Does look like another base going down for Colon Pound here. They do have these all saturated. And just a macro game, lots of gateways at the home base, so they're going to be able to warp in their army pretty much as soon as it replenishes with all the gateways they have going down right now. But we are moving down the map. We are going to be making this a planetary fortress. We do have Brave Crusher here coming to attempt to take his 4th base as well, and he is going to need it if he's going to be staying on this Ultralisk tech. Meanwhile, Archon's going to be moving in, a bunch of charge lots. There are a lot of Widow Mines here, going to be getting some good shots going, going to have to enlarge this. Ling's trying to get on top of this ball. Ultralisk going to be pushing in, but more Protoss here, and there are a good amount of Immortals and a good amount of Archons, more than enough here to deal with these Ultralisks. We're going to have to be backing out to the Planetary Fortress, and might even have to run all the way home. This is a lot of Protoss, guys. Ultralisk getting picked off like butter. Cycle's going to be running back. No SCVs here to repair this Planetary Fortress, and we are going to actually lose this engagement horribly. Not backing out just in time. A couple Ultralisks staggering home, trying to make it back. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge Deathball army. Just like they're all pushing together. HMX, Colon Pounder, and his other ally could be moving in. Ultralisk here getting picked off, and we have lost, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the blunders of team games. You never want to take a 3 versus 2 fight, because as you can see, the army of 2 always loses to the army of 3. So we did get wrecked, but we do have reinforcements for Spec coming in. We do have the Banshees out on the map finally, but Cloak isn't done. A couple of Thors here as well. Going to be moving in, going to be trying to use these Banshees, but don't want to have them die just yet. There are no observers here, and Cloak, actually, there's an observer, but if we can pick that off and get Cloak research just in time, we can hopefully make this push run back. But Banshees getting picked off, trying to keep the Banshees behind the bio, kind of let them sit at the back and actually do the damage per second while the other stuff tanks. But we are losing a lot more even feedbacks coming down. Going to be having these Medivacs energy sapped and doing a lot of damage to them as well. So right now the bio can't heal. A lot of the Medivacs weak. More bio rallying into the front. A couple of Zerglings coming in as well. Even more Banshees. And we just look like after a long fight, this Protoss army is going to slowly be chipped away. They haven't been reinforcing as well as they could have. But we do have some DTs here on the front line. Going to be dropping some scans. Going to be trying to deal with these DTs here. And we do have a couple of Banshees left. And this is the kind of scenario we want to be in. Nothing here that hits air, guys. There's a bunch of Zealots, such a bunch of Immortals. Banshee's just going to be able to go to town and kind of scare this whole army back home. They need to get a couple Stalkers in the mix with some Observers, or maybe some well-placed Storms. But right now, these Banshees definitely doing work. Going to be zoning out this army. Zealot's going to be trying to go straight for the main base. Bio going to be trying to make the Zealots kind of funnel into this little choke. Smart map engagement here for Spec. Going to be cleaning up these Zealots with relative ease. Meanwhile, these Banshees doing what damage they can, but there are a couple Stalkers here now to counter the Banshees, and we do need to repair them. A lot of them are very weak on health, but going to be staying on Banshees for a little bit. Do need to reinforce and get some Hellbats and Thors here to the side, but lost my 3rd base, so kind of hurting right now. But we did keep the command center alive, so going to be attempting to retake it. More Lings and more Ultralisk here coming from Brain Crusher. Going to be moving in right now, but there are some Stalkers. They do have the high ground advantage, so kind of a bad engagement for us. We do have some Medivacs to spot for vision. They're going to be working on pushing up, but bringing in these Banshees from the side. There are no observers here, so there is an observer. Every time I say there's always an observer. So they do actually able to see these Banshees, but usually what's good about this is that the Ultralisk are actually going straight to the front and tanking and letting the Banshees do the damage that they need to do. Because Banshees do a lot of damage. They are very squishy, but as you can see, they do 2 shots, 12 damage per shot with attack range of 6. So that's 24 damage a hit, and their damage is like 1 shot every like 0.89 seconds. So they can really kill things pretty quick, especially if they have the time to. So they're actually complementing these Ultralisk and Zerglings very well. since they run up at the melee front. Everything, as far as AI is concerned, that hits land is going to want to target the stuff in the front first. The Banshees get to kind of just hang at the back and dish out the damage while everything else tanks. But anyway, it's going to be trying to retake this base here. I do have a couple Hellbats in the mix here and a couple Banshees, but decided to stay on Banshees since it seems like the cloak and just kind of microing back and forth has actually been doing a lot of work and helping to stay alive against the Protoss. Do have a counterattack going in. Ling's going to be trying to get on top of this Protoss army. More bio coming down for spec. Does have 2-2 upgrades. Meanwhile, these Lings and Ultralisks are all 3-3 with all upgrades complete. Kaitaina's plating, Adrenal Glands, so these cracklings do a lot of damage. Having more coming in from the side. We have the Banshees, Hellions coming in too. Going to be trying to get a snipe on these probes. There are a bunch of Zealots here going to be having to back out. And it is our time. We're going to be going for the counter offense at this time. Protoss had us on our backs, but now we're going to go ahead and try to do a little damage of ourselves. Meanwhile, they are expanding and they are taking these bases here to the right. And they do have upgrades finished, but they're only 2-2 as well. Going to be going back, but there's not a lot left at home. Those look Lemon Essence is mainly on Zealot tech. Meanwhile, HXMX does have a bunch of Stalkers, but they've lost a lot of their high tech. There's no Templars here or Archons to help kind of deal with this big ball of force, and there are some Templars coming in. I'm going to be throwing down some huge storms here on the Banshees, get a lot of them weak, but we do have the Banshees kind of moving in. More bio coming in, more Hellbats going to the front. The Banshee speed upgrade is done, so now they move ridiculously quick, guys, so we can go hit and get out of danger as soon as possible. And actually, Protoss here kind of on the back burners, losing a couple bases that they really should not have lost, and getting some more units here, but there's not enough splash damage to deal with all this ground. They need some Colossus or Disruptors. There are a couple Archons here, but these Archons are just kind of getting evaporated before they even have time to make some big connects. Going to be getting there, going to be doing a little bit of damage, but there's not enough Archons here. Definitely need to get some more Storms, some more something, as Protoss is actually kind of staggering on their feet right now. Mortal's going to be coming in, but these Banshees doing a bunch of work. We do have about 9 Banshees now, just completely destroying all of this. There are some Stalkers here, but these Stalkers aren't actually being microed to point at the Banshees. And the Banshees, if they keep going like this is going to be a bad downhill slope for the Protoss army. Stalkers going to be coming in, but right now there's just a critical mass of Banshees that these Stalkers just kind of evaporate before they even kill any of these Banshees. Going to be having them back a little bit. Do have a couple of Hellbats here. Medevac's actually healing the Hellbats. Going to be tanking a little bit. Still an Ultralisk here. Going to be doing whatever damage we can, but we did get a snipe on those bases, so we might be a smart call for us to go ahead and back out. Going to be trying to take a couple more probes out as well, and then get out of there. One Stalker coming in, but not enough here to deal with these Banshees. Going to be kind of trying to pick up what we can, and do decide to go home. 6 Banshees do survive the journey, but definitely a good hit. This was exactly the kind of thing we needed. And even Ling's coming out, staying real proactive. Going to be doing a lot of damage to these new bases that just came in. A couple of Zealots trying to warp in to deal with this. But these are cracklings. These Zealots are 2-3. We'll see. We'll see. Let's look at these Zealots are cutting down the Zerglings, but it's more of an even fight now that these Zerglings are fully upgraded than it would have been initially. But we do have some more Stalkers coming in. Going to be getting a snipe on that base. Going to be backing out now. The army is coming home, but are here with some Banshees. Going to be doing a little bit of mic. You're going to be trying to get some damage done. Energy is pretty low. Should probably try to cloak here pretty soon, but I'm pretty sure they have an observer, even though they don't actually have an observer. They're going to be dropping down the cloak, and there is nothing here to actually detect the Banshees. And this is the kind of scenario I was talking about, ladies and gentlemen, where these Banshees are just here, feel free to wreck over all the ground Protoss troops, but they are going to be going straight for my base. Banshees are going to be backing out a little bit, kind of out of position. They need to be here fighting the main army. There was no observer. We could have been doing a lot of damage, but there's an observer here now. Going to be backing. Actually, yeah, man, these observers are hard to see, guys. Thor's instantly going down. Tanks on move command going to be going down as well. And definitely a bit of a blunder. Do lose my base again. Forced to lift off out of there. We do luckily have one extra command center, so we can try to retake here in a little bit. But this Protoss force is moving down the map, is staying proactive, is going to be taking out our extra expansions and moving into our thirds once again. But meanwhile, we do have Spec down here finally taking 2 extra bases for himself, so he is going to be having some incon. Meanwhile, being Brain Crusher are hurting here. I do have 28 SCV saturation on that base because I just have no more bases to mine. Do have a couple of Banshees, but need to be careful to not lose these because these Banshees are my lifeline. The only reason I'm staying in this game is because I have a little bit of Banshees. More links coming out for Brain Crusher, but it does look like he's hurting pretty bad. As far as economy goes, going to be getting some more Hellbats out and a bunch of SCVs here looking for a base to mine, but we do have a big drop from Spec. Going to be coming in, taking out the original second bases for the Protoss army. Going to be doing a lot of micro, going to be moving in, trying to do what damage he can, take out as many for these pros as he can. And these Protoss just took this other base again, and looks like it is going to go down. It does finish before he has the ability to actually cancel it, and with this, Colon Pounder is going to be losing the game. HXMX losing the game. Ling's coming here, going to be attacking the expansion, and the Banshee force is going to be moving in, and they decide to leave the game. GG, everybody. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Please leave a comment and subscribe to help support the team game community, guys. I hope you enjoyed. My name is TeamSC, and I'll see you next time.